Welcome to Hashtag Narrative, a Football Manager podcast where we sit around the virtual campfire and recount stories from past saves. Today, he is back. Kev, hello.
Hello. Is that the bit we weren't allowed to talk during?
No. Yeah. Well, yes, it was. Yeah.
Am I okay to talk now?
Yes. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm here.
I thought that was quite clear by the fact that I just introduced you and said, Kev, hello, and generally you respond with hi or something similar, which you did, so that's fine. But anyway, enough about Kev. And
whoa. Enough of that
return.
talk. Yeah, there's never enough about Kev.
Yeah, put your facade up all you like, doesn't matter. Anyway, enough about facades and Kev hiding himself in his garage behind his green screen. We have another green screened guest. That is Mr. CurtyFM. Chris, how are you, sir?
I'm very well, Matthew. How are you?
I'm almost excellent, bar the issues with pet-related things today, but enough about those, because we want positivity. We did make it, finally, eventually. And this is your first appearance on this channel, so hopefully it's comfortable for you.
Well, as I said to you just before recording, I've longed to be here for some time. So
You've made it now.
I feel like I've made it. You know,
yeah.
It's done now. It's done.
I don't want to say life goal achieved, but it is, isn't it?
Well, there's a big fat tick on my whiteboard now. So
you can rub it off.
Yes, I can rub it off.
The whiteboard. I'm talking about the whiteboard. Nothing else. Just for clarity.
Dirty mom.
It's not me.
Already.
Nothing. I'm just. I'm not the dirty one. We're not the dirty. It's the listeners that have got the filthy minds that we've got to sort of clarify when we are being purely innocent, no innuendo at all. Just okay, it's fine. Before we get dragged down any deeper into the. Oh no, it's getting worse. We'll start with the questions because this is going downhill very quickly. So we start at the obvious point, Chris. When did your obsession with Football Manager start? Now, I do know the answer to this question because we've previously spoken about it, and you've also sort of unveiled the answer on your FM Scout podcast video thingy-majig that you've done recently, but we'll have it again over here. Thank you very much.
I did. They got the exclusive.
That's not fair.
A few days before
you've been booked for a month, Chris. Could you not have held it back?
Well, it's just hard. I'm just like a fountain, just gushing stuff out all the time. It's hard to keep track.
You're not helping with these, are you?
I know. Have you got your mug for your pennies?
I'm not contributing for that one. I've got a tally going.
I should have brought a mug, shouldn't I?
That's one for you already, Chris. I'm counting them.
All right, okay, that's £1 to some charity.
A pound? Yeah, I'm not made of money. Jesus Christ! How much do you really think I've been putting in that mug? Been putting in euros because we've got them left from holiday.
It's the same 2p that you've just been regurgitating. That
2p. Come on, it's like a euro coin, so that's what 80p.
All right.
But yeah, regurgitation. Now everyone's seen behind the fourth wall, well behind the curtain. I thought it was just an exclusive for you, Chris, but now you've blown it wide open for everyone else. You have. Oh, that's another one. You haven't that one. That's two. Two euros you owe.
Should we get back to the question?
Yeah, sorry.
So I started playing, well, basically from the first edition. My dad always had a computer. I think he started with like an Amstrad. I think it was a CPC 464 thing. And he always used to play Emlyn Hughes, and I used to watch him for hours and hours and hours. And then he upgraded to an Atari ST, and we played Premier Manager, Tracksuit Manager. He basically just had every management game, and I just used to sit there like in silence, just watching him play, basically. And then he got Championship Manager, and I'm not sure. I think that was the first game he actually let me play with him.
Is that for fear of you destroying his team?
Well, this is another one of my crowning glories on Championship Manager was actually beating his Man United team in the semi-final of the European Cup, and then I went on to win the European Cup, and things were frosty for a while. But yeah, so basically since the first edition, we had that one. Then we had, I think it was Champ Manager Italia. And yeah, I mean, I haven't played every edition. It's kind of been on and off. My love affair with the game is, it's had its ups and downs, its peaks and troughs. But
I mean,
I've been playing for a long time.
quite surprising that you've dipped in and dipped out. I've always found it's quite difficult to take myself away. Like there was a couple of seasons prior to starting YouTube or to putting things out on YouTube that I thought, you know what, I can't be bothered with it this year. I've got too much on. I'm just not going to buy it. And then it comes to a week before release. I look at it and think, oh, it's going to happen, isn't it? And I end up buying it every single bloody year. Every single year. I've just got no willpower.
I don't know why I went through periods of not buying it. I'm not really sure. I think just maybe life got in the way. I don't really know. It's an odd one, but I've played a lot of versions, but then I played FM09, and then I had a big gap, so I didn't play 10 and 11, and I came back to it at 12, and I've had obviously every edition since then.
Excellent. Kev, have you played Emlyn Hughes? Because I know you famously played Kenny Dalglish.
It feels like it must be the closest anyone's ever got, surely.
I think it is. I think that's almost enough to take the taco.
Well, it was on the Amstrad, so you had to put the tape in and let it...
Yeah, Kenny Dalglish sounds like it was the Spectrum equivalent on a tape. Oh, okay. I wonder if they were just the same game with different skins, because...
It could well be.
Kenny was a Spectrum man, and Emlyn was an Amstrad.
Yeah, some of my friends had a Spectrum, and I was always a bit jealous of them.
Because they were cooler.
They were cooler. The Spectrums, yeah. I mean, just ZX. I mean, that sounds cooler than CPC.
Certainly. I've got a Spectrum man bag now. You can't buy Amstrad man bags, so that's proof that I was cooler back in the day.
You just have to contact Alan Sugar directly for an Amstrad.
Yeah.
Isn't it his son that owns it now rather than him?
I've got no idea.
I think he's like the CEO or something. I don't know. I don't really care. It's because they've moved into doing like the boards in stadiums and things like that. I think I may be massively off the mark here, but I think that's what they do now.
That strikes me as the kind of nerdy thing you'd know.
Thanks for that. Yeah, but yeah, it is really. I'm not going to lie. Well, that's a nice little lovely trip down memory lane. Now, I believe that you and Kev are the same age.
Ooh.
Both 24.
Yeah.
24, yeah, absolutely. Liars, the pair of you. But yeah, it's interesting to see a different kind of path almost, and that it's a parent that's introduced you to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to, I don't know where the obsession started, because I used to buy like Match magazine, and in the back of Match magazine, you used to be able to like do this thing. So you'd basically send some money to like these random people, and then they'd send you back like a little pack with like a team that you were that effectively in charge of. So you had to pick your team and pick your tactics, and then you'd send it off again, all by mail. And then the next week you'd get your result through, and then the sort of process would repeat itself. And I think I used to do that before I ever started playing sort of management games. So there's always been some kind of underlying obsession to just control people, I think.
I love that, to control people. I mean, I suppose the current equivalent of doing that really is you receive an email from a rather unscrupulous Nigerian fellow who's requesting your bank account details. But
I mean, these things were horrificly expensive as well, especially.
I think was it like a $5 or something? I remember
11-year-old kids.
I remember seeing the adverts myself because I was an advocate of Shoot and Match magazine, but I don't think I was either ever allowed or ever had the money to be able to do it. It's something that I was absolutely interested in, but I think I had to draw the line at stickers.
Well, I think I did it for like a limited time, basically around birthdays and Christmas, if I ever got any sort of pocket money. And then you'd have about a month of just wasting this money away, sending it off so you could manage this like fictional team because no one had any licenses. And yeah, it was. I mean, in retrospect, it was a complete waste of time, but kept me occupied for a while.
I bet parents were pleased.
Yeah, they loved it.
I'm sure they did. Well, what is your favourite-ist save ever from whichever of the many games that you've played over the years? And it doesn't have to be one that you've played on YouTube necessarily. It can be any, from personal saves that we maybe haven't heard of or been aware of before. Well,
my YouTube career is very young, so I've only had I had a West Ham save, FM16. Did my sort of an Arsenal, which was meant to just be a beta save for FM17, and I've now moved to Aldershot. So I've only done those. I'm only on the third ever one really. in terms of YouTube. So, but I was thinking about this earlier. I think my favourite save is probably from FM09. I started as QPR manager inexplicably. I've got no idea why. And I always used to be one of those guys that downloaded a tactic, basically. I was one of those guys. So I had this tactic.
Disapproving shake of the head here.
Yeah. Well, this
That's
is why
what
FM12
Kev's
baffled me.
breathiness was. Sorry, you carry on. I'm ruining your little story.
No, that's all right. So yeah, I always used to download a tactic. So I found this tactic, and it was called Sexy Football. From the SI forum, probably.
I think I remember.
What were
this.
you really googling there?
Something with sexy balls.
Well, I remember the guy who created it was a guy called Poynton27. So Poynton27, if you're listening, thank you very much. So I started as QPR playing this sexy football, and then we got promoted. They started in the Championship. We got promoted in our second year, I think. And then I had spent about 3 or 4 years in the Premier League, and I won it. Arsenal were by far and away the dominant team, and yeah, we kind of knocked them off their perch. And then Arsene Wenger retired, and Arsenal offered me the job, and then so I went to Arsenal, jumped ship. Absolutely, QPR fans hated me at this point. And then I just sort of was Arsenal and just continued the period of dominance really. I've never really been one to do kind of lower league saves, to be honest. So doing it now for FM17 on YouTube is a bit of a new experience.
So you've never actually is it a case of you not enjoyed them, or is it just never really
I don't
felt like an
know.
option?
I think I used to like winning a lot, and I'd never really started a save with a lower league team where I won a lot quickly enough. So yeah, like I say, up until FM09, I was a downloader of tactics, and I think that's the first time I've publicly said that.
So we finally got an exclusive
You
that
have.
you
You have
used to
got
be
a-
a cheat, and
got
you've
the-
now been reformed.
Exactly. So then I had the 2 years off. I had FM10, FM11 off. Jumped back in an FM12, and there's this thing called the Tactics Creator that I'd never seen or heard of, and I was completely baffled by it. And I was, downloading these tactics, and they weren't working. So I ended up having to read about stuff and look on the SI forum and find out how to actually play the game again. But yeah, sorry, going back to the original question, FM09 QPR into Arsenal was my favourite save ever.
I quite like that little sort of initial answer, loop around, and then back round to summarise. That was very eloquently done, sir.
You've introduced some professionalism around here, and
You
I,
have.
for one, am in favour of it.
What do you mean? Hang on, introduced. Hang on a minute. What is this? It's not take shots at Matt Day or any other day for that.
No, it is. It's Monday. That's when we record, and that's why I'm here. Every third Monday, I turn up, mock you for half an hour, and then wander off again. It's great.
Well, you just mocked yourself as well in that one. But yeah, I was going to actually ask you a question, Kev, about the because you are a more experienced player, as am I. You would have known the game sort of pre-Tactics Creator, as obviously Chris has as well. How did you find that transition between going from having to adjust sliders and I spent hours faffing with those sliders trying to get it just right in the right place, and I could never. It's so easy now to just go, I want direct passing, so I just click direct passing. I'm sure there are loads of people out there that still say, if you put it on direct, then it's probably 14 on the slider in real life, and then gung ho or whatever the go route 1 is 19 or 20 on the slider or something like that. But how did you find that sort of initial transition?
I never really understood tactics either before or after, so it kind of I just find something that works through total trial and error, and then never ever change from it mid game, season upon season. And I don't really remember what buttons I've pressed to get there. If you ask me now, and bearing in mind I've got the game open in front of me, if you ask me now what instructions I have on for my team, I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to go and check. Because I put them on 11 seasons ago, and they've not moved.
So is it with the case? I know this is supposed to be me asking. In fact, it's a question to both of you. When you are constructing your tactic, albeit 11 years ago or however often, is there much rhyme and reason into the instructions you choose, or do you just go for what you think or feel works? I mean, what do you use as your judge to see what works? Is it what goes on the pitch, or do you look at the analysis, or do you just think, I think that'll probably work, and then go with it, and if it doesn't work, then you faff around a bit more until it works?
That third one without the faffing around a bit. I just pick what I think looks like should work, and then just keep getting new jobs until I find a team that fits that tactic.
That is a rather interesting way to go about it. But most people think, I can either maybe fit and squeeze these players into working the way I want to play, or alternatively, I'll mess around with the tactics so I can fit to the players I've got. But no, Kev changes the team to fit the tactic.
Yeah, well, it's often not my decision.
Well, I didn't want to either put spoilers out there or fire any shots in your general direction, but yeah, not too far off that mark.
It's interesting though, because I consider myself a little bit of a tactic aficionado now.
Aficionado? That's a bit of a bloody long word for
a little bit
for a Monday.
But I've gone back to see it, because you can download 0102 now.
You've been able to download it for years.
Yeah. And I've sort of tried to employ using the old sort of slider system. Well, yeah, it was sort of slider system back then. And
well, in 0102, you only had 3 options for pass, and you had the short. Is it short, mixed, and long still on that? I really can't.
It was. And you could. Yeah, it was short, mixed, and long, and counter attack, yes or no. All that kind of stuff. But I've tried to go back and put in what I think are sort of logical tactics. And I still can't get it to work. So downloading all the way for those old games.
Can you still download the tactics now?
Probably.
That'd be awesome.
There is. I think when I discussed this with Golden FM, I believe I put the download link for Championship Manager 0102, and on that very forum, because there's a forum dedicated to it, I think it's champman.0102.co.uk, they still have all of the patches. I think they've got a database updated up until the last summer transfer window, which is pretty bloody good for a game that is 15 years old now. And also there's still some of the older tactics. I believe the tactic that you would go for on that was the Diablo, which was like a weird, I think it was like a 5-3-2, which had 2 centre backs, 2 wing backs and a defensive midfielder, and then like a Christmas tree of midfielders, attacking midfielders, and one central striker. And that
I do remember that. So perhaps I used to be a cheat as well, and I've just blocked it out of my mind.
Yeah, massive exploitative tactic that was.
Was it as good as Sexy Football though?
I'd never used Sexy Football. I recall the name, but I don't know if someone may have lifted that and put it into one of their tactics for solidarity purposes or something. I don't know, but yes. Well, we'll move on to the next question. Although I have very much enjoyed this sort of brief look down memory lane. Favourite player or players from maybe that QPR save, or any other sort of standouts from any of your other saves?
I've got a few. I genuinely cannot pick one. I'm going to have to run you down a little list, if I may.
If you must.
Okay. So, 0102, Jamie Victory was absolutely superb.
Hero.
Left back, he had crossing of 20. He had a few 20 stats actually, a few rubbish ones, but you could put him in any team, and he'd do you a job and get 10, 15 assists for the season.
Thing is, you can't unless he's on your list, you can't mention Jamie Victory from 0102 if you're not going to mention one of his defensive partners,
Mike Duff.
Indeed,
yes. So from Cheltenham, and you used to be able to pick him up for about both of them combined for about
20,000. I think you could sign him for. I think that may have been pre-patch.
Right,
but then once
okay.
they patched it, you had to pay a little bit more. But you could pick them both up for nothing. And Jamie Victory was something else. I used to love all of those non-league style bargains on 0102.
Well, there was Mark Kerr as well.
Mark Kerr, yeah,
built
absolutely.
many an empire around Mark Kerr. And Falkirk was he at?
He was. There was. I know we're now reminiscing about 0102, and it makes us sound like right old bastards. But
we are old bastards. So
I'm not quite in the echelon of old bastards yet. I'm still. Well, I say a year, 3 months shy of 30. So I'm okay at the moment. Until once I eclipse that point, then I become an old bastard officially. But
6
at the moment,
years away for me.
Oh right. Yeah. No, that means that would make you a real old bastard. 6 years. That's when the beard's coming off, isn't it?
Yeah. Can't wait.
I'm trying to remember one of the players. I think Garforth and Garforth, Bishop Stortford, and there was another team, and I cannot remember who they were. Scott Huckabee was a player, and I can't remember who I'd sign him from, but he was a winger, and he was atrocious, really, like attributionally, but he was just something else. Stuart Brightwell, I think, was the guy from Bishop Stortford, and I'm trying to remember who from Garforth. Was it? I think it was James Coppinger or someone like that.
Right.
Used to pick up from Garforth Town, but they all turned into like incredible players for like nothing, and some of them were even on part-time contracts, so you pick them up for nothing. There's some scouting tips for folks if they want them. Anyway, back to your favourite player. Sorry, Chris, I'm interjecting too much.
Oh, just on your kind of, you said that those players didn't have great attributes. Do you remember in the earlier days? I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if it was the first edition, second edition, but the developers put themselves in the game. And they all had really good attributes, but they were all really rubbish. And I don't know how it worked. But yeah, so just flip reversing what you said about good players, rubbish attributes. Pretty sure the developers were in an early edition of the game with really good attributes, but they were rubbish.
I'm not
anyway.
sure. I do vaguely recall that. I know they put themselves into some of the later games as sort of staff members, like so scout. You could pick. I think Mark Duffy was famously a scout at one point. I think that's one of the.
I was in there
developers.
as a scout 1 year, or two or 3 years probably, when I was researching for Posh. They put all the researchers in there as scouts with our proper names and stuff.
Oh,
so if you go back like 3 or 4 years ago, probably from FM09 through to FM12, I'm in there as a scout. There you go, little Easter egg for you all to all go and find. Go find Kev.
But that's amazing.
We keep on ruining Chris's answer.
No, well, I went off on the tangent there, so that was my fault.
Yeah, of course it is. It's always your fault, Chris.
Moving to FM09.
Well handled by the heckle there.
Moving to FM09, Kerrison, the striker from, I can't remember who I signed it. Was it Sao Paulo or someone like that? But I think in real life he ended up going to Barcelona. It was a massive flop. But in football,
did he have like weird hair and a bit of a cratered face?
Oh, I don't know. I never saw a picture of him.
I'm quite sure he was like really not cratered, but he was very. I can't think of the things that you have on your face. No.
Eyes, mouths, noses.
No, the freckles. That's the one I was looking for. He had a lot of freckles, and curly hair, I believe. Now, I could have got this massively wrong, but I'm quite sure that was Kerrison, because I was really surprised when I saw a picture of him, because like, at that stage, like, you don't really have face packs as such. No. And so any players that you think, young Brazilian, you're either going to like Ronaldinho or Ronaldo. That's basically like an amalgamation of those two. But then when I saw a picture of him, I was genuinely surprised at what he looked like. But anyway, I'm spoiling your point again. Sorry, Chris. You might get to answer this question at some point.
It's a conversation. There is back and forth. That's fine. So Kerrison, I bought him for QPR when we got promoted to the Premier League, and then pinched him when I moved to Arsenal. So another reason for the QPR fans to hate me. But on that save also, there was a regen I had for Arsenal called Gareth Wilson. He was a left midfielder, and he was out of this world. I just remember he had pace and acceleration was 20. His crossing was like 18 or something like that. He was just like the perfect winger. and him and Kerrison as a combination was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Do you want to know how many appearances Kerrison made for Barcelona?
Do tell.
0.
Oh yeah,
he was
Didn't he go
there
on
for
loan to
5
Italy?
years. He went on loan every single season. He went on loan to Benfica, Fiorentina, Santos, Cruzeiro, and Cordoba.
I've got a feeling they pay quite a lot of money for him as well.
I think, in fact, I've got the page up. How much did they pay? 14 million plus 2 million, depending on appearances. There you go. Well, that's euros as well, and it's prone to error because it's Wikipedia. But hey.
And then just this year, I enjoyed having Paulo Dybala in my team.
I'm very much aware of your love affair for Dybala.
Oh, he's my guy. Yeah. I'm just getting flushed just thinking about him. To be honest.
See, I signed him for my Super Copper team, and he's been absolutely piss poor, to be honest.
Oh, really?
That might be my implementation of his role. I'm trying to force him to play in behind the striker when I don't think that's his preferred role. Maybe that's my problem. But hey.
You're doing it wrong.
I'm obviously doing it wrong. I always do it wrong, but I'm over it, in all honesty. Have you finally answered the question sufficiently, do you think, Chris?
I think so, yeah. I think we've covered most bases now.
I thought I'd better check just to make sure that, because you had so many interjections there, that you may have forgotten a bit or something like that. But we can move on. Anyway, that's nice. Of all of the saves that you've played so far then, and whether it be on YouTube or whatever, would you ever be tempted to go back to one of them, either replaying them from the start, so on the, say you pick out the QPR save and you go to play that on FM17, or alternatively going right back, if you still have like the save file from one of your 0-02 saves, for example, and go in and really sort of going back down memory lane? Would you ever be tempted to do either of those options? Or alternatively, think of a third option of your own?
Well, the third option is that I have actually gone back to a couple of these saves. So 0102, obviously I don't have the save file for that anymore. That's long gone. I did go back to FM09 and took over as Arsenal. But I think the reason I stopped playing that save was because I was winning everything and eventually got bored. So you grew up and matured and realised that winning isn't everything. Yes, I think that's the problem. So yeah, it was the same. So I sort of played on for a couple of months and then just realised it wasn't going to happen. I've also done it FM13. I had a save as Southampton, and we were 2-time back-to-back Champions League winners. And again, you just can't recreate the magic. So, as I've done that, I know now that you just can't ever go back, I don't think. So now, whenever I get the game, I just immediately, whenever I get the new game, just immediately delete the old game, delete the files.
Wow, that's everything. Ruthless.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that. I think, because my one particular save, and I won't mention it in case we do have to invoke the emergency backup clause that is me being a guest on my own podcast, but I have one particular save that I lost due to data corruption, and I was absolutely gutted because it was indeed one of my most favourite saves and most enjoyable saves that I'd ever had, and I could not get to the point where I wanted to finish. I have got so much unfinished business, and I've got this little niggle at the back of my mind that makes me want to go back, but I'm not sure if I could quite do it. And I'm being purposely vague. So, and some people do know the answer to this or do know who that particular save was and who I was at that point, and sort of the scenarios that I basically will never get back and recover. So every single save that I've ever had subsequently, I've got a backup of somewhere, unless that particular hard drive or USB stick has been lost or whatever, but that I can't not let go of them like that. I just couldn't. What are you like, Kev, in that regard? Do you like preserving your memories, or are you ruthless like Chris?
I think mine are on Steam Cloud. I don't know if that's actually reliable. But they just, for the last 2 or 3 versions of the game, I just save them on there. But I do just delete the game when the new one comes out. I assume the saves are still out there somewhere. But I'm never going to go back and play an old game now. That's crazy talk.
Not even looking back at... Well, I suppose you lost part of the non-League Legend from last season, didn't you?
Yeah. Although it did kind of... It was weird because it sort of reappeared again. I don't really... It was... I think this is...
Basically, you didn't look for it properly, did you?
No, not really.
I think really the moral of this story is that you really wanted to end it and so needed to search for justification, so purposely blew your laptop up.
I wanted to carry on with it. I was so sad when that ended. Very sad.
It was quite a journey.
It was.
I know, like I said, I keep on stealing Chris's airtime, but this is because I've not spoke to you in a few weeks. How are you enjoying this year's non-League to Legend in comparison with last year's non-League to Legend?
I like the fact that it's going completely differently. Someone asked me that the other day, and I don't like the fact I'm still stuck in League One 11 years in. That's annoying me.
Can I just say something?
Go on.
It's your tactics, mate.
Shut your face. But
just get on the forums, mate. You can just download them really easy.
Yeah. I might
sexy
have to look
football.
into that.
Are you allowed sexy football on your channel, Kev? Is that?
Yeah, of course I am. It's all sexy football around these parts. But I don't know. Non-League to Legend last year was it was the same as every save of Football Manager I'd played for the previous 10 years, whereas this one is like nothing I've ever done before. So I'm figuring it out as I go, and I think it's making for a more entertaining series, and it does get incredibly frustrating at times. But when it actually works, those rare occasions it works, it's so much more fun because I can't predict. I don't even know what club I'll be at next season. And there was never really a time when that was the case in last year's. So it is fun. But I think it's because they did say, it was hidden in one of the press releases for FM17, that they were going to make it harder for you to sort of club hop and work your way up the leagues. And I remember thinking at the time, that'll be interesting. I wonder how that'll pan out. Yeah, now I know how it pans out. You can take that feature out, idiots.
Do you think you're going to reach the promised land before the end of FM17?
Well, I made it into Europe earlier than I did last year for one game and got knocked out. I think we'll get there. And really, the most boring part of last year's one was when I was at Man City and we started winning stuff. It was really dull. So I don't know. I quite like the fact it's going to take longer. We'll win the Premier League and then I'll retire and my son will take over and we'll go back down that route again. It'll be fine.
Excellent. So to round us off, now that we know sort of Kev's general thoughts on his current save, I've got to ask Chris a particularly personal question, I suppose. And it's a bit...
It's normal size. It's normal size.
That exhale was the sign of disappointment. I thought you
were
you were bigger than that. Oh yes, there we go. Boom. Sorry, I'm filth. A sour note to end on, not a filthy one. Like Chris was trying to drag it down. See, it's never me. It's other people. If it's not someone else, it's the game trying to do it to me. It may, me signing players called Dix and Willie. That's nothing to do with it.
I mean, you're asking for trouble there, weren't you?
You are really, yeah. You can't say anything. Like as soon as, well, in fact, it's kind of the opposite way around. But as soon as Willie pulls off a defender, it's getting a bit tenuous. Although, to be fair, it'd probably be a better thing that the striker pulled off Dix.
I'm just waiting for the day that you sign something called Helmet as well.
To be fair, Spain is absolutely filthy. It's absolutely riddled. Like they've got some. I can't remember which team it is, but they play in La Condamina. I mean, come on.
Wow.
I've got a striker called Willie, and he's playing in La Condamina. I mean,
no wonder you decided to go to Spain at the start of this game.
Well,
you're well suited.
My reputation precedes me, I believe, and it's not fair. Anyway, I'm gonna ask this question finally. Have you ever been sacked?
Yes.
You have?
Yay.
Someone to join the Kev Club. Or the Kevolution, as we should call it. That was my phrase.
Well, I own the copyright.
Before I realised I could download Tactics, I was sacked a lot.
Before you realised you could cheat, you were sacked a lot.
and then when I got FM12 and I didn't know what I was doing, I think I started my first save on FM12. I started as West Ham, and was promptly shown out the door. Probably about 3 or 4 months after I took the job. So yeah, I've been sacked a lot. I haven't been sacked for a while though, so that's good.
Neither have I.
No.
What season?
A couple of seasons now. Is it? It's closing in on a season and a half, so that's good for me.
So a season then.
Oh,
we're talking in full seasons.
I haven't had a full season for 4 seasons, so I can't talk in full seasons.
I love that. That's brilliant. Oh dear. I love how this sort of conversation with Chris has sort of turned into sort of the everyone show, but it's been quite good fun, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And thank you for being honest with us, Chris, about your prior sackings. But it's nice to have seen that now that you've seen the light and that you've got used to the Tactic Creator after 4 or 5 years, that you've been able to turn it around.
It's taken me a while. I mean, it
was a Thatcher-esque turn, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been worth it, but I just, the amount of reading I had to put in when I first happened upon the Tactics Creator, just the SI forum was my Bible for a while.
The thing is, I'm going to be a bit scathing here, so you may want to distance yourself from these comments that I'm about to put upon you. But some of the drivel in that forum is beyond annoying. Like, you'll see a thread, you think, this is really well written, it's really interesting, and then you try and employ a similar sort of thing to what the person who's posted that tactic has done, and this don't bloody work. How's he done this? What's this, like, maniac? How has he managed to get this to work? And you always think that he's keeping the secret ingredient back, whatever it is, whatever makes this thing work for him, he's keeping it back for himself. Greedy sod. Like,
it's like anything, though, isn't it? You've got to sift through a lot of rubbish before you get to the good stuff.
Indeed. I mean, do you still view the forum relatively regularly, or have you moved away from that?
I don't. Yeah, no, it's something I haven't even been on there for a long time, to be honest with you.
What about you, Kev? Do you purvey the forum still? Or?
I've never been on the Tactics forum. Does it show? I was hounded out of the Sports Interactive forum on the whole in FM09 because apparently I cheated. So I've not been on there for 6 years, apart from the odd time when I go on there and post to try and get people to come and watch my videos. But it is just a case of going on there, sticking a post up and then leaving. I don't read any of the nonsense that's on there.
You've got to elaborate on your cheating days in FM09.
It's because I was in the LLM forum on there, the Lower League Managers forum, for anyone who isn't fully educated as to what LLM is. And I went through I posted updates on my save in there every season for like 25 seasons, and it was very much precursor to non-league to legend. Same basis, started at the nearest club to my house, worked my way up, and when I got to the point where I'd won the Champions League for the 2nd year in a row, everyone just decided I was cheating. So I sent my save to the mod on it. I don't even understand why I got to that point, why I didn't just tell them to do one, but I sent my save off to the mod on the forum, who was a complete moron.
Desperate to sort of confirm that you're being as professional as possible.
But
I want validation.
He said, I've had a look on the editor and you've got 4 of the best 5 players in the world in your squad, so you must be cheating. Well, no, I've won the Champions League twice and I've got good scouts. I've been at this club for 10 years. You moron. But I got banned, so didn't ever get to say any of that. So I hope he's listening, because he is a moron.
You might have died. You don't know.
Well,
would that make
to
you
be
feel
fair,
worse? Or?
No, I'd feel strangely satisfied.
I didn't realise you had such a shady past, Kev.
Cave? Shady in a cave, eh?
Yeah.
And then I flouted my ban because about 3 months later I was appointed the researcher for Posh and had to re-register under a different name. And when they said, just log in on your normal name and we'll just upgrade you to this special research forum. Oh, for some reason my login's not working. I've had to set up a new account. Is that okay? And got in that way. So I have 2 accounts on there, one of which is
dear.
banned and one of which probably doesn't work
So
anymore.
you were
'cause I'm
legit
no
banned
longer
then? It
I
wasn't
was properly banned from the whole forum, yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, properly
Oh
banned.
my god.
They're
Jesus
idiots.
Christ.
That forum doesn't even exist anymore because it was a cesspit. It was horrible.
See, I do sort of occasionally dip into the tactics forums. I think some of them are quite interesting. I've actually read a couple of really, like, there's a person who seems to play the game very similarly to myself, and I think it's entitled like generic football or something like that. And that's basically what I kind of try to play. I don't really want to play with a particular style. I just want to be able to tick as many boxes as possible. So I like playing as mixed passing rather than going short or direct one way or the other. It means that I allow the team sort of freedom to pick and choose as they go, really, and building really, I suppose, a team sort of befitting either the level or the level of player that I have available to me, rather than sort of saying I've got this vision, I'm going to go through with it. Which is why I change my tactics so bloody often, because I end up sort of building a tactic around the players I've got, and then I sign new ones and kind of don't know how to pigeonhole them in where they're supposed to go. So I change my mind and try to go about the same way, and then I'll do exactly the same thing again every single bloody season. Such a indecisive
I do
bastard.
have a habit of signing just players that I don't need.
See, when I was younger, I used to like sign so many defenders that I did not need, and I don't even know why. And now I've got the opposite problem. I just sign strikers.
Yeah, strikers for me.
When you
It's
play
always good.
predominantly like one striker formations and you've got 4 strikers, no need.
I just like shiny new things, I think.
I think all of us are a bit of a magpie, in all honesty. But there you go. Right, it's time to end this time together, I'm afraid, gentlemen. But before we go, I've obviously got to allow you to plug your own things, to pay for your time. That's the only way I can, because I have no money.
What?
I'm sorry, Kev. Yeah, I know what I said. The check is in the post, but it's going to default. So
That's fine.
just get over it. All right, good. Right. Chris, where can people find you, and what are you currently doing, in case they're not aware?
They can find me at youtube.com/CurtyFM, where I am currently playing as my beloved Aldershot Town, which I mentioned earlier, but it's a double plug, which is nice.
I'm just going to...
I just realised. So yeah,
I'm sure the missus will enjoy it later. It's fine.
Back to professionalism. Now. So yeah, currently I've just started, so it's a good time for those who are new to my channel to come in, and you've only got a little bit to catch up on, so that's good. And I'm also on Twitter, twitter.com/CurtyFM as well.
Well, all of your links will be in the description, because it's easier for lazy people. And Kev, where can people find Yao?
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to clarify my previous comments about the LLM forum being a cesspit. Now, I was referring purely to the handful of people who were mean to me. Everyone else on there, I'm sure you were all great, because I assume a lot of you now watch my videos. Crossover niches. You lot were great.
You forgot where you were, didn't you, Kev? You forgot yourself. You did.
Yeah.
You forgot the filter. The filter went. I was waiting for a swear word, in all honesty.
It's because it's half term, so I don't have to think at the moment. So that's what it's about. So apologies if I offend. No, actually, I don't. If you got offended, you deserved it.
I love that. You've apologised.
Yeah, no.
Well, actually, no. You've gone loopy at everyone. Then you've apologised, and then you've reneged the apology. You absolute monster.
Anyone who got offended, they're offended for a reason, 'cause they know they did wrong. Yeah, you deserved it. And you can find my stuff at lelujo.fm. Come and subscribe. It's great.
Or probably unsubscribe after that.
Oh, good riddance if you unsubscribe.
Oh, this is brilliant. Oh, can you be on half term more often, please? Because
I'm working on it. You not watch my vlog, for goodness sake.
Oh God, no one cares about your vlogs. Jesus Christ, they do. I've enjoyed them recently, so yeah, well done on those. And actually, this is the first time on camera that I've been able to thank you, congratulate you on your 10k achievement, which is probably, I'm assuming by now, vastly hurtling towards
9 again.
I was going to say 11. I was going to say 11, but probably it's more like 5 after your little rant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
no one watches this, so you're probably quite safe.
Well, that's. I assume that was the case.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone mad on my own channel.
No, that would have been insane. Why would you do that?
If you're throwing around milestone congratulations, I've just hit 1,000.
I forgot. Sorry, Chris. Yes,
No,
you have.
fine.
So
That's
congratulations. It's a difficult milestone to reach, and I think
I hit it a day after my year anniversary.
that's annoying.
It was a bit.
You thought double achievement, double celebration, double plug. Obviously,
Maybe I'd have hit it sooner if I didn't have months between uploads in FM16. But
yeah, I think I had the same issue as well. So I think not all of us can be a Kev, unfortunately, but congratulations all the same, young sir.
Many thanks.
Right. That brings us to the end of this episode of Hashtag Narrative. If you've enjoyed the episode, please tickle that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And why don't you have a snoop around the channel and see if there's anything else you quite like. There will be a new series starting soon as the Recreativo Rejuvenation is ending. Shock horror, bum bum bum. In fact, by the time this comes out, it will have already ended. So, yeah, you've got 50 episodes to look through. And the new thing may well have started. I can't remember if it will have yet, because I've kind of lost track of my days. But there you go. Anyway, it's goodbye from Kev.
Toodle pip.
It's goodbye from Chris.
Cheerio.
And it's goodbye from me. We will see you very soon. Adios, folks.